Hello students, in my last video I finished explanation of chapter 1 the summer of the beautiful white horse in a snapshot, and also I have also summarized the chapter, and I have also shown a very short video in order to make you the chapter more clear. Okay, so now today I am going to discuss answers to all the questions and other exercises of the chapters. So let us begin. Question number 1. You will probably agree that this story does not have breathless adventure and exciting action. Then, what, in your opinion, makes it interesting? Okay, so this answer may vary student to student, but I think uh, meaning should be the same. So, what makes the story interesting? Okay, so let us discuss a creative answer to this question. So, the story did not have exciting action and breathless adventures, yet it had suspense in the story, which made it interesting for the readers. It was a good psychological narration, and both the boys wanted to try something adventurous as their family was poor and they both wanted to ride a horse. Murad stole it and they both rode it for quite some time, for about many weeks. After they were over their gameplay, they took it back to its original place and owner. So this makes the story very interesting, even there is no exciting action and breathless adventures in this story, but the way Murad stole the horse, the way both rode the horse, and at the end when they came to know that the horse belonged John Byro, and then they after 1 week they had known that the horse belonged to John Byro, an Assyrian farmer. They returned to it. So this makes the story very interesting, and also they were known as their honesty, and they were also poor. So in the beginning Aram assumed that Murad had stolen the horse, as but he could not believe on this fact. So all these things which mentioned in the chapter make it interesting. Okay, let us discuss question number 2 now. Did the boys return the horse because they were conscience stricken or because they were afraid? So what was the reason which compelled them to return the horse? So did the boys return the horse because they were conscience stricken or because they were afraid? Okay, so as we know that if they were conscience driven, so I think they would not have stolen the dog. So it is because of afraid they returned the dog. And if you can if you mention both in your answer, so it's also correct. And they were afraid. Actually, when they came across John Byro, if they were afraid, then they should have returned the horse on that very moment, on that very day, but they did not do so. They returned it after a few weeks. They had met John Barrow. So it shows that they were conscious stricken. Yes. So they were conscious stricken. So that's why they, when they came to know that John Barrow was facing problem because he was lacking his horse. Okay, so then they returned the horse to his owner John Barrow. So it shows that so they were conscious stricken. So how would you be writing this answer? The boys returned the horse not because they were afraid, but because of their conscience. Their family was known for its honesty, yet they had stolen the horse months ago. When they met John Barrow on his way to town, the horse was with them. He carefully examined it and shared that it looked exactly like the one he had, just like a twin. It felt like it was his own horse, but since he knew his parents, he did not believe it was his own horse. They were Murad and Aram were carrying. This struck the boys and they decided to take the horse back to the farmer's vineyard to put it in the barn. So they returned the horse because they were conscious stricken, not because they were afraid. Okay. Now let us discuss answer to question. Third one. One day back, there in the good old days when I was 9 and the world was full of every imaginable kind of magnificence and life was still a delightful and mysterious dream, the story begins in the mood of nostalgia. Can you narrate some incident from your childhood that might make an interesting story? So you would be writing it on your own here. So I can suggest some answer, but this answer may vary student to student because their childhood experience which was interesting may vary. Okay, so it can be given on your own experience. So by reading those lines, no one can stop themselves from traveling back to the memory. I remember when I was 13 years, 12 years, 15 years, 8 years, whatever it was, I used to visit my grandparents' home and was located at a hill station. I would spend my entire summer vacation with them. We would go to the market to eat delicious snacks, would go shopping and watch TV together. I remember once going to a summer camp for a month. They would drop me off to the place and would come to pick me up after the whatever they according to that you mentioned classes got over. Sometimes my grandmother would bring a packed lunch for me. I would eat as fast as we would go shopping. After that, I always got sad whenever I had to go back to my home and to go back to my school. So thus as per your own experience you have to write this answer. Okay, so let us discuss the next answer, the next question, What is the answer to the next question? Question number 4. Question number 4. The story revolves around characters who belong to a tribe in Armenia. Murad and Aram are members of the Garoglanian family. Now locate Armenia and Assyria on the atlas and prepare a write-up on the Garoglanian tribes. You may write about people, their names, traits, geographical and economical features as suggested in the story. So with this you need a map on which you can locate it, and whatever as far as writing is concerned, so whatever information I have collected from different sources about Garoglanian family is Garoglanian tribe is said to be a work of fiction by author William Saroyan in this book of the year 1940. My name is Aram. They were Armenian. They were poor people who hardly managed to gather food to feed their stomach every day, but they were known for honesty. Hospitality is one of the important aspects of the tribe. Most of the Armenian people followed Christianity. They have a huge variety of food and social gatherings. They focused on forgiveness of sins and on the spirit of tolerance. So this information I have collected from internet. So you can collect more information about them and include in your answer. Okay, try this out. The horse stood on its hind legs, snorted and burst into a fury of speed. That was the loveliest thing I had ever seen. So these lines could be an artist's delight. So try to draw a picture as depicted in the above lines. So you have to draw a picture so as given in these lines. So this is all about these chapters. Now I am going to discuss the grammatical part of chapter 1 in Hornbill. Okay, it was left undiscussed, so I am going to discuss the grammatical part of chapter 1, the portrait of a lady by Khushwant Singh. So grammatical part I did not mention in that video. So in this video, as I have finished this chapter, so I am going to discuss the grammatical part of that chapter. Okay, so open Hornbill chapter 1. Look at the grammatical part of that book. So we are going to discuss grammatical part of chapter 1 in Hornbill, the portrait of a lady. Okay, by Khushwant Singh. Let us begin the grammatical part of this chapter. Working with words. Notice the following uses of the word tell in the text. Her fingers were busy telling the beads of her rosary. I would tell her English words and little things of Western science and learning. At her age, one could never tell. She told us that her end was near. So now, given below are 4 different senses of the word tell. Match the meanings to the uses listed above. Okay, so now you have to match the meaning. Okay, so first one is make something known to someone in spoken or written words. So uh, I would tell her English words. Okay, so the answer to the first one is uh, here for the second sentence. Okay, I would tell her English words and little things of Western science and learning. So this is the answer to this one. Okay, this one. Okay, now count while reciting. So let's find out. So this one, the first one, her fingers were busy telling the beads of rosary, which means counting while reciting. Okay, look at the third one. Be sure. Okay, be sure. So it is so in which sentence be sure means be sure. So at her age no one could tell, no one could be sure. Okay, so here tell means be sure. So the fourth one, she told us that her end was near. So here told means give information. She gave an information. Okay students, information. Let me here told us in this fourth one is give information to somebody, okay class. Now notice the different senses of the word take. To take to something means to begin to do something as a habit. To take ill means to suddenly become ill. Locate these phrases in the text and notice the way they are used. Okay. So you have to locate these phrases in the text and notice the way they are used. So to take to and to take ill. Okay, so in the text if you read out this line, she took to feeding sparrows in the courtyard of our city house. Okay, so it means she would feed sparrows daily in the veranda. She made this her habit when she moved to the city. So take to. Okay, she take to means to begin to do something as a habit. Okay, so let us in the text, she take to feeding sparrows in the courtyard in our city house. Yes, look at this paragraph. So from she said only in the while she said veranda skeleton came on her leg, even smiled. It used to be the happiest 1 hour. As the years rolled by, he saw less of each other. For some time, she continued to wake me up and get me ready for school. When I came back, I would tell her English words and where is this phrase has been used. University, I was given. My grandmother accepted her cyclism with resignation. She talked from sunset. She sat by only and feed the sparrows. Beds of rosary, where she took to feeding sparrows in the courtyard in our city house. Here, stretcher is there to take her to be cremated, and here the next morning is served the bread. We carried a cups of live quietly. The next morning she was taken ill, so lifted her off. The next morning she was taken ill. So thus you can find the first sentence, she took to feeding sparrows in the courtyard in our city house, which means she would feed sparrows daily in the veranda, and she made this her habit when they moved to city. The next one is the next morning she was taken ill. So this phrase refers to the fact that Arthur's grandmother was suddenly ill. So here taken ill means suddenly ill. Okay. So thus read it out and find these two lines. First one is she took to feeding sparrows in the courtyard in our city house, which means the how she would feed sparrows daily in the veranda. She made this her habit when they moved to the city, and the next morning she was taken ill. So the phrase refers to the fact that Arthur's grandmother was suddenly ill. Okay, so here by changing preposition, so thus, and by changing adverbs, you can change the meaning of the any phrase. Okay, so phrase is a group of words which is made up of whether a verb or preposition, or sometime a verb, preposition and adverb. Okay, and meaning of a phrase is totally different from its root verb. Okay, so now the word hobble, look at this one. The word hobble means to walk with difficulty because the legs and feet are in bad condition. So tick the words in the box below that also referred to a manner of walking. Okay, so let us find out the words which also refer a manner of walking. So here shuffle, you can use dictionary. Okay, next, yes, good, stride. Next word which is the synonym of hobble, yes, waddle. Find out the next word, try to find out, you can use dictionary for this question. Yes, the next word is swaggle. The next one is truss and slog also. Now you can use dictionary for in order for answering this question. So thus we have finished the grammatical part of chapter 1, the portrait of lady, and discussion of all exercises, the whole exercises of the summer of a beautiful white horse. Okay, so now you have to complete your notebook and send it on my email ID. So many students have already sent, not many, only a few students have sent it. So many students are still to send, so please send it as early as possible. Okay, I'll give you with a small video on the portrait of a lady. Okay, students, so let us enjoy the video. This is very short video and gives us the summary of whole chapter. Okay,
here is a summary of the portrait of a lady by Khushwant Singh. The author remembers his grandmother as an old lady like anyone's grandmother. He believes her to be eternally old and finds it extremely hard to accept that she was once young or that she played games as a child. As far back as his memories went, she was fat, short, and had wrinkles all over her face. She walked around the house with a slight stoop, praying soundlessly with a rosary in her hand. She always wore white and was as peaceful and light as snow-covered mountains in winter. The author declares that though his grandmother was never pretty, she was definitely beautiful. As a child, the author lived with his grandmother in their village while his parents lived in the city. His grandmother used to dress him up, give him breakfast, and also drop him to the village school every day. While he learnt the alphabet in his class, she read scriptures in the temple attached to his school. After school, they walked back home together, feeding the village dogs. Things, however, began to change when the author's parents brought them to live in the city. In the city, there were no stray dogs to feed, so the grandmother took to feeding sparrows in the courtyard of the house. Though he shared a room with his grandmother, the author went to school by bus and studied modern subjects. Thus, the author's grandmother could neither accompany him to school nor help him with his studies. This, coupled with the fact that the school had no religious instruction, made her unhappy. She was also aghast to hear that they taught music at school. In her opinion, music was only for beggars or dancing girls. Later, when the author started going to the university, he was given a separate room in the house. This comprehensively snapped whatever remained of their friendship. The grandmother became more reclusive and spent her entire day sitting by her spinning wheel and reciting prayers. The high point of her day now was the half hour she spent feeding sparrows in the afternoon. The little birds surrounded her chirruping loudly and eating little bits of bread. After his university education, the author went abroad for his higher studies. Contrary to the author's expectation, she remained unemotional and just kissed him on his forehead when she saw him off. Given her age, the author was unsure if he would see her again. But she received him at the station 5 years later. There was no change in her, neither in her looks nor in her behavior. However, on his first evening back home, the author's grandmother broke her routine and celebrated his homecoming. She sang for hours on end with other ladies from the neighborhood. The next morning, she fell ill. While the doctor assured the family that she would be better soon, the old lady declared that those were her last hours. She refused to talk to anyone and demanded that she be left alone to pray. As she lay in bed, praying inaudibly as always, she passed away. The author's family laid it on the floor, covered it with a cloth, and left to make funeral arrangements. When they returned, a surprising sight met their eyes. Thousands of silent sparrows surrounded the dead body. They took no notice of the breadcrumbs that the author's mother scattered on the floor, and flew away just as quietly as they sat once the body was taken away for the last rites.